Hey everybody, welcome back into the Letterman Lounge. This is Letterman Live. It is brought to you by Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. We are in beautiful Columbus, Ohio. The season is getting closer. The middle of July, we're a couple weeks away from media days, 3 weeks or so away from the start of training camp. So we're going to have a lot more football to talk about.
It's football weather outside.
It feels great. We're out this weekend. It was like, is this July or does this feel like October? Either way, I like it.
A little balmy for October.
Well, yeah, probably right.
Catch a few of those days there in October.
Some of those nice days. That's Justin Zwick, Nicole Cox, ready to hit the links this afternoon. Both of those, they're not been playing without us.
They look golf ready, both of them.
Gotta be.
Yep.
Bobby Carpenter.
Must be nice.
And Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. And
Thank you.
when we're talking about football, I hope the Buckeyes can survive without a top 20 coach this year. That was news to me this weekend, and I'm curious everyone's thoughts. Clearly, the list is inaccurate. Pro Football Focus, we use them a lot. They're generally very accurate, Bob, when you look at grading players and giving some feedback and NFL potential, but they don't seem to have a good feel for evaluating coaches.
I'm just trying to figure out what the criteria used. I mean, Pro Football Focus is such an analytics-driven, and so if they said, hey, Ryan Day doesn't qualify because he's been there less than three seasons or less or whatever it is, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess you can say that, but if you look at some of the other coaches that have been on there, they're not nearly as accomplished during a longer tenure. And I will say this, that there is always the worry that he could be Larry Coker or Mark Helfrich. Now, with the way he's recruiting and the way he actually coaches in game, I would say that that's not accurate. Mark Helfrich, I think, was a pretty good offensive coordinator for Oregon and did a decent job running. He just couldn't recruit and couldn't run a program. Larry Coker, good at nothing, but had the most talented team in the history.
Good at taking over a great team, yeah.
I mean, dude woke up.
For a little while. Yeah, for a little while.
I always say
a couple years.
He got the Rick Ross treatment. He woke up in a new Bugatti and was like, hey, here we go. Just drive this thing
and
around.
he drove it off the road.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, but not before he could still win. He still won some races before he ultimately took it off the road. I mean, he should have won 2 national titles in a row if it wasn't for the fact that their offense and defensive game plans in Miami were just like, hey, show up and you got like 3.
Get off the bus.
We
go out and win.
Offensively, they ran like 5 plays. They ran like 5 run, 5 pass. I mean, that's literally mostly it. And defensively, they did about the same thing. It's like our dudes are just better than your dudes, and they'll just beat you straight up every single time. And that was true until they found some people that, like Mark D'Antoni, put together an unbelievable game plan, neutralized him a little bit, got up on him for some pressure. Then we just took Craig and made his head into an anvil. We're just going to run the quarterback power 18 times. No one else. No
leading rusher.
Nobody anticipated the Craig Krenzel.
No.
Here's the irony.
Caught him off guard.
What is it about the QB power?
Urban Meyer has popularized the QB power, but Jim Tressel was way ahead of the time.
He took that out of the
much slower version.
Yes.
But that was I don't know if that's the worry. Like, hey, if we put him in here in 2 years, is he fired at Ohio State and they're 6-6? But the way that they're recruiting, that's literally not possible because they have better players than everybody by a significantly wide margin. So I mean, we could literally get Ward and Berm out there. Probably here's a play sheet. You just point and shoot, and you're still going to win 11 games. I'm not even sure who the 12th team is that would potentially beat you.
I'm just going to have Jay-Z train me for a couple weeks and play quarterback for the team.
Done.
That amount of talent, I think anybody can do it. Jay-Z, we were talking about this before the show, and just would anybody from Pro Football Focus do this for attention or just to rile up the Ohio State fan base? And I don't believe so because you are, from my perspective, having worked in media now for far too long, you're sacrificing your credibility for this for a very short-term benefit.
You're believing that most people care about their credibility.
Yeah.
At this
Well,
point,
but the return
it's an
on
anonymous
this is
name, It's
it's
a
not
PFF
anonymous.
Seth. Nobody knows who the hell PFF Seth is.
Yeah, but my thing was more for the site. Like, if you're a site that wants to be taken seriously, how do you put that list out there? Unless it's like Bobby said, you have criteria where he just doesn't meet the criteria. But from some of the other guys on that list, it doesn't appear that you have to be around for that long or, this sort of thing. So I thought more for the site, you wouldn't want to put it out there. It feels like a huge troll job to me. And it happens, I feel like, every year for Ohio State, whether it's, Michigan's going to win the Big Ten this year. Every year it's something that Ohio State's not where we really are in reality. Everybody tries to push up other people or other teams just because they're tired of us being there, it seems like.
I asked Phil Steele about this. I would argue that Phil Steele knows more about every
credibility.
Every college football team If you've ever read his college football preview,
gosh,
I mean, it's amazing. You could be like, hey, Phil, who's the best wide receiver in the MAC East? You know, like, I mean, he would be able to, boom. Well, I got these 3 guys. We've got Akron here, Ohio University, these guys. I mean, dead serious. And I think he does it pretty unbiasedly. I mean, he breaks it down really well. And you can look, people at Michigan said, this is great. There was a great line where it's like, oh, he hates Michigan. He had him ranked 60th this year. And like 2 years ago, he had him ranked 3rd and they finished unranked. So like they burned him on the other side. And so over the past 5 years, he's had him high and they've been unranked. He's had him a little lower and then they finished a little higher. But he's kind of been right in the middle most of the time. And just to speak to, how unbiased he is about everything. And so I asked him, where do you have Ryan Day ranked? He's like, I mean, probably 3rd, but no worse than 6th or 7th. I mean, it's like, okay, you want to put him at 10? All right, we can get in the argument. He doesn't have the body of work. That's fine. But like the fact that someone's going to sit there and try to objectively say, hey, there's all these guys who you would take over him, I don't think it's fundamentally flawed.
It's obviously a biased opinion. And
right,
I think
Nicole,
that's no, but I think that reading any news now,
like saying Roosters wings aren't good.
It's
just not true.
We let the public vote on that. We have won award-winning wings year after year, which
objective fact.
Which we are very appreciative of. But it is, when any news you read now, you have to take it upon yourself, like, okay, who am I hearing this from? So, and I think just a random list going out like that, obviously there's bias in it, unless someone who's putting it out there is known for just putting out the facts
and evaluating coaches. But
that's what makes it kind of weird, because you do get some good stuff from that site, right?
Really do.
And it's just it's mind blowing that they could sit there and put him down the list. I don't understand it. It's got to be one of those things where it's like, hey, they know this is going to blow up for a couple days, and then hey, we're going to put out another article next week, and everybody will forget about what we said last week.
The best coaches under 44 years old. He'll be first.
But he won't. No, he won't be on that one at all. The thing that I just don't understand. Bob brought this up. Is it the body of work? Has he been doing it long enough? Did he just take over this great situation from Urban Meyer? Well, I don't remember that being the standard for Lincoln Riley. Yeah. Everyone just tripping all over themselves and say he's the greatest coach of all time, the boy wonder. He's held to a very different standard, and he took over a situation that was every bit the same. All the conversations about Ryan Day taking over Urban Meyer.
I would say it's actually a different situation, because Ohio State, Ryan Day to take over after a catastrophe, so to speak, controversy and all that. Lincoln Riley is a great coach. Ryan Day is a great coach. You guys know, you've been in the Ohio State program. If you're talking Ohio State, it just draws more attention. So you just do it and you go for it, because you know that fans are going to be outraged no matter what.
But couldn't you have done on the other side if you go he was 10th? Like, what?
No, but if you go out there and say Ryan Day is the 3rd best coach in college football, which I think most people would say he's in that top 3 at this point, then you have the other fan bases going, oh, how dare you? You get the pitchforks that way, you get the pitchforks this way. Everyone just loves pitchforks.
Well, that's what makes it so bizarre that you don't even put him in the top 20.
It is.
Like, we're talking about Lance Leopold taking over Kansas and being in the top 10. Or
the irony with that, because like he came from Buffalo and was great. I'm like, hey, Turner Gill did the same thing. How did that work out?
Exactly. Like a lot of the.
By the way, Les Miles, like,
golly,
American
Moses.
hero, an American champion.
The Michigan man mystique has really taken quite a
He's
blow.
not getting that Michigan job anytime soon.
His argument of, hey, we're going to let guys settle it on the practice field.
Go hit each other real hard.
So Bob
line up one-on-one.
He's not even joking. He actually really likes this approach at camp.
I mean, you know what? Like,
That's something.
Let him settle on the field. Hey, you're trying to loosen your teammates' lug nuts so maybe the tire falls off.
I mean, what?
You're getting a wreck and die because you said he might be selling drugs.
Threatening the kid and his family?
Oh, you know.
Like, what's going on here?
At the end of it, though,
if you're going to kill him on the field.
Well, exactly.
Do it the old-fashioned way.
It's a heartwarming story because, Colonel Jessup issues the code red, but then they try to transfer him off the base. They give him some cash. Go back to West Virginia. We'll pay for your schooling, and we'll give you a stipend to live with. I'm like, but you're living at home. I mean, it was fantastic. All totaling $50,000, and we'll have you sign a NDA and just lock that thing up, and it's all good.
Don't think there's not a silver lining here. The kid didn't have to go to Kansas anymore.
Yeah,
but
he's in West Virginia.
All right,
West by God.
Is that your silver lining?
Okay.
I guess the way I look at it,
beautiful
Nicole,
country, West Virginia,
is if you're going to rank these coaches, you'd better say that you would hire all 20 of those people before Ryan Day, and that's the part that I think is ludicrous. because you're not going to pass him over.
You're not going to pass him over. And a lot of what coaching has become in college football is recruiting. And what has he done since he's taken over?
He seems pretty good at that.
He's done really well, and he's going to continue to do real well. And that's half the battle. Like you were talking about earlier, you got the players. You can call whatever you want almost on the field because you have better players than everybody else, and he's recruiting better players.
He's had to deal with so much in just these 2 years. I think you found out a lot more about Ryan Day going through the COVID year, Chase Young suspension, quarterback, all the things he's had to deal with through 2 years. It's not a normal 2 years that he's been going through. So you learn a lot more through people in those challenging situations, I think.
Absolutely. And guys, we went to a national championship last year.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
isn't
yeah.
that I mean,
he beat Dabo.
In the grand scheme of this whole game of football, isn't that the goal, the Super Bowl and the national championship? And we went last year. So obviously the coach has something to do with that. And let alone how many recruits we had, how many players we had go into the NFL. I mean, there's just something to be said for that.
That's what's the most impressive thing. He's never lost a conference game, never lost a regular season game.
Is that good?
He's made it to the playoff both times.
It's only been a couple years.
And he's won a game, which is something Lincoln Riley can't say, which is something Brian Kelly can't say. All these guys that are ahead of him, I'm like, he's been there twice.
6 quarters of embarrassing the hell out of Brett Venables.
Yeah, I mean, really, you're a misstep away, maybe
10 things.
A targeting.
Yeah,
all these different things from potentially winning both years. So that's the thing that, they have Ed Orgeron there. I love Ed Orgeron. I think he's awesome. He is Foghorn Leghorn as a human being. He's the guy that you envision coaching LSU. If you're going to write a movie,
He's
like the water boy.
He's swole Les Miles.
He really is. And so that's
then we know how this is going to
He's more of a swole the coach from Waterboys. You can't understand.
Let's not try to say that last year was some great job. I mean, they fell apart mightily after one season. So
took a backup quarterback from Ohio State to get him to national championship.
100%. So they've still got a way to go. And we'll see. That's where quarterback transitions. That's where it proves. And so I give Ryan Day a little bit of credit because he was the OC for Haskins, and then he ultimately takes Fields, and he was able to make that transition. He's going to have to make one more pivot this year, and I think everybody anticipates he'll do a good job. But when you have to pivot with those quarterbacks, that's when you really get to see how good these coaches are.
This year kind of tells the tale for him, I think. As far as that national perception, you go with Lincoln Riley. Obviously, he goes from Heisman winner to Heisman winner to Heisman winner. It's pretty easy in that instance. This is the first time. None of those guys were players he developed or recruited. I mean, they were trained.
Developed here.
Right. So now you see what Ryan Day can do from that side of things. Yeah, that should be the Oklahoma slogan. Developed elsewhere. At this point, I think that it's really going to be the tail of the tape for Ryan Day. Like I said, if C.J. Stroud comes out and the Buckeyes are what everyone thinks they're going to be, and it's Ryan Day from start to finish, from the recruiting to the developing to the waiting to the playing, then all of a sudden I think you'll see that list will change next year as long as things go the way people expect it to.
Okay, what is expectations?
Compete in
the national champion.
Have they changed?
Win the Big Ten, compete in the college football playoff, and
beat Michigan,
and get back to Bama.
So the most interesting part of that for evaluating Ryan Day is if he's getting that defensive coordinator hire right. We talked about it all last year, the return of Kerry Coombs. He didn't get that spring ball, didn't get training camp, had to replace 3 NFL defensive backs. So it's secondary week at Lettermen Row, and we're going to have to give out some Buckeye Leaf projections for who to watch in the Ohio State secondary this year. Nicole, the notebook is full over there.
Yes.
We're just going to let you start. Who needs to step up for Ohio State to get that done this year?
Well, I think, like you were saying, I think Kerry Coombs is wonderful. And a lot of that comes from his energy. His energy is contagious. And I think as a coach, kids can really, no matter what kind of personality you have, he can make you successful. Can you
take that away when you have to go through Zoom? It wasn't the same.
Oh, exactly. And he was his first year back, and we had lost so many guys. So absolutely. So I think through everyone, I think Lathan Ransom is the guy that we need to really take a look at. He, was a true freshman last year, but he was thrown in there, and he had some good plays in the Sugar Bowl in the Big Ten, and he's versatile. He can play some corner, some safety, and so yeah.
Lathan Ransom. I know Berm likes that. Did you know that he's from Arizona, Berm?
I did.
Oh, interesting.
Nice. You go visit him in Arizona, Berm?
Oh, he came to visit us when we were in Arizona for the
came and hang out with us at Camelback.
For the 20.
Gosh, you guys are so cool. They come to visit you, huh?
Well,
he was in town,
it's
so
the
we were
power
like,
of the brand.
And the power of the brand, I guess. Yeah.
Wow.
Usually people think that they're going to get Roosters if they come see us. We pretended like we.
It was disappointing when he got there. There's no wings.
Out there, we would.
Oh well, it was a fun trip anyway. Jay-Z.
I'm going 7 banks this year. I think we've had years where we've had this lockdown guy. We know who it is going into the year. I think he was the guy who maybe came on a little strong, got a little bit better as the year went on last year, maybe realizing that he needed to step up and take that role. So I think this year, with the young group that we have back there, he's got a lot of experience. I think he takes over, and I think he's our lockdown guy that we can just say, all right, you're on an island, you're going to do your thing, and we're going to play our defense around that. So I'm looking forward to him. I'm guessing he had a great offseason, and he's ready to rock, and he wants to be that next DB taken in the first round or in the top 10.
Yeah, he was playing at a high level at the end of last year, probably the best of any Ohio State cornerback, but he wasn't fully healthy. He said that nagging lower body issue, which held him out of spring, so he had to get healthy, but he was playing pretty well, made some big plays, especially in that Sugar Bowl. Bob,
let's go to Birmingham.
I know who he's going to take, so we can let him go.
Well, that's what I want to hear. So that way
you're not going to take his guy. I promise you.
You sure?
I'm 100%.
I'm not going that direction.
Yes, you.
No, I'm not. I'm going to say a couple things. Number one,
Nicole, now he's going to schlegs it.
Nicole's completely correct.
Break down everybody.
Lathan Ransom is the difference maker in the secondary this year. I think if he steps up and is what people think he will be, and what he was developing into last year, I think he can be sort of a difference maker in the whole defense. Court Williams and his recovery and him getting back to being able to play is huge for the Buckeyes.
Now you took Bob's guy,
a.k.a. Jailhouse.
Court was going to start last year as a true freshman, and him tearing his ACL early in the season,
lower body injury,
in early fall camp kind of changed a lot of things. Then Cam Brown hurting his Achilles, lower body injury.
Kind of like using the hockey lingo now.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of moving parts. But to me, the thing that has to happen is that Ryan Watts or Legend Cavazos has to be able to step up and play considerable quality minutes opposite of Seven Banks, because I believe Seven Banks is going to be a first-round pick next year.
What about Cam Brown?
Why are you leaving out Cam Brown, bud?
What about I'm saying there has to be a third.
Okay. Well, you left out Cam Brown.
That's where Kerry Coombs is successful.
Oh, yeah, he likes to roll in dudes.
You have to have that third guy, and one of those, because I'm counting on Cam Brown being one of the other two.
Gotcha.
It has to be Cavazos or Watts to step up and really take that step.
So I heard your ears kind of perked up because I think you thought I said rolling dubes. Because what I hear, you've been using your paper not for writing, but for rolling doobies.
That seems like some inaccurate information, Bob.
Well, you are from
a writer, huh?
You are from Wyoming out there. I do know they got great hydroponics
just because it's
and a lot of things.
Close to Colorado.
You're going to make us change the rating on our show, Bob.
Well, that's good. This is kid friendly.
That's illegal, okay?
Court Williams, it is. Well, not in Colorado. It's not. And in
not
Michigan,
a lot of places.
They'll kick you out of the Olympics for that.
They will. That will get you.
That is true.
Every time.
So when you look at this, Court Williams, my man Jailhouse over there, I like what he's been able to bring. Nice thick neck, sturdy dude. Like he's put together. He is put together. He's eventually going to be an outside linebacker.
Can you play DB with a stiff neck?
He's eventually going to be president of the
He'll be a great star. Like he'll be a great star. Like a nickelback to be able to be a run piece. Like he's going to be. What do they call that guy? The bandit or bullet or whatever the heck we got going on. So there's that. The guy who I want to take though, and I believe me, the corner rotation. It would be great if you could have both Watts and Legend Cavallo step up, and then you have a nice little four-bagger where you can roll those guys in and out and match up really, really well. Because Watts looked really good in the spring game. He's tall, he's long, he's got great quickness for a guy his height, and he can bend well, which is really tough when you're a 6'2", 6'3" corner. That's not people don't realize
it's a big corner.
The disadvantage. It's an advantage down the field, high pointing balls, but short range quickness, trying to be able to anticipate. When you've got a longer lever, it just takes longer to get your foot in the ground and be able to convert. But the guy I'm going to go with, one of my favorites, and I love talking to my guy Ryan Clark, with ESPN. He played at LSU, and he loves physical defensive backs. I mean, the guy who is going for home run shots every time. I mean, he is the Adam.
Sometimes to his detriment.
You're taking Austin.
He's the Adam Dunn of free safeties. He may strike out, but he also might hit a home run. The guy Josh Proctor. I mean, he can look like a dog chasing cars out there. And we all remember the terrible angle he took on Trevor Lawrence on his quarterback scramble.
Well, the field, the turf slipped out of his feet, Bob. Let's not.
I just want to see Josh Proctor catch a ball.
No.
He did in the Big Ten championship game, as you might recall. It was a game-sealing interception.
Boom.
So let's just cool it
with
the Proctor.
Cue the film.
I knew you were taking his guy.
He's
very emotional about Proctor.
He's got average suspect hands, but he will knock you. He will try to knock you out, as we saw at the end of.
You got to have a guy like that.
Was that the end of the Big Ten championship?
Wisconsin game.
Those hands are for punching. They're not
for catching. As long as they punch the ball in the air, that's all that matters.
On a benign run at the end of the game, and he just smokes him on the sideline. So if he can be the middle of the field safety that can go numbers to numbers, I mean, he's got range. He can see the field, get him locked in a little bit on the film room. I know this is a big year because I think he's trying to jettison out of here and get to the NFL, and he's very, very gifted. So if he can have that type of year where he can be the piece in the middle, I think that is a huge benefit for this Buckeye defense.
I think he's another person that was really, everybody missed out on not having spring, but to sit in a room with Kerry Coombs, he was being asked to replace a 3-year starter,
Jordan Fuller.
day one NFL player who was the most reliable player on Ohio State's defense, and he was not ready to do that last year. I'm not breaking any news there. That's his own admission. The coaching staff, his family, he's gone into this year. I think that maturity piece has finally come together. He's talking about the game slowing down. Normally, when you start actually being able to talk about what your role is and how to do it, that helps, right, Bob?
Explain to me what you do.
He wasn't able to do that.
What is it you say you do?
A little bit office space coming in.
Usually get here about 15.
So he's got the flair. I think he's got 41 pieces of flair that
41 pieces of flair
that can go out there. I mean, he has to be that guy.
That's fine if you want to do the minimum.
But
some people do more than that.
We're at Roosters, okay? We don't have to wear the flair here. You're going to have that one deep safety. That's critical for the defense. But you need some of these other guys to step up and do it. Cameron Martinez is an interesting piece.
Mm-hmm.
Two-way player, Cameron Martinez.
Thought Berm might
just get
talk
the kid,
about him.
let him return some punts and kicks. That's all. That's all I'm asking.
But I think that Cameron
9 minutes of touchdowns on his senior film. 9 minutes of nothing but touchdowns.
He's from Western Michigan.
How many minutes of touchdowns did you have at Lancaster?
Let me tell you this, Coach. Not 9 minutes.
Okay.
Not 9 minutes worth, but
he was quarterback in Massillon and didn't have 9 minutes of touchdowns.
I don't know. You could
probably 12.
You could probably put together that for him, especially you pull in some of that Orville film.
Yeah, I guess
you bring in. Over 100 touchdowns altogether.
I guess if you have the really long, the play from the start to the end, where he throws a little bubble screen and the guy takes it 80 yards for him.
What?
This guy's.
I don't even know what he's talking about.
Listen. So you obviously a big Cam Martinez fan. So you've been in on him since the very beginning.
Since his freshman year of high school, but yeah.
And you're defensive about people not picking your guy.
No, he's got a lot of he's like a lot of guys.
Michiganites, I get it.
Once you cross the border,
once you cross the border, you just don't know anymore.
He's like a lot of guys in the secondary that you just don't know what you're going to get out of him. You don't know what you're going to get out of Ronnie Hickman. You don't know what you're going to get out of Bryson Shaw. You got all these moving parts of guys that didn't get to play last year when they would have, and so you just have a lot of things. And Cam's obviously a little bit further behind coming over from offense in high school, but in a spot right now where there's not been anyone else below those first couple guys that stepped up. So it's about who works the hardest and who puts in the time.
And I think Cameron Brown's injury was a much more devastating loss for Ohio State than maybe we considered at the time. I saw him during those workouts last month when Ohio State was having camps, and I was sneaking in to see the current team. He looked healthy, looked fantastic.
When he played pretty well.
He was the most experienced at corner. Well, like Sean Wade had played more snaps, but it wasn't.
That hurt last year.
He had more snaps at outside corner than both Sean Wade and Seven Banks going into the year.
If you remember, he filled in pretty well the year before against Michigan when Sean was out. And he did a good job. I mean, I thought he played very, very well for being a young player that was just thrust into battle.
Do we know anything about DeMario? Is he going to be vying
Super
for
DeMario?
Any
that's
playing time in that secondary?
Incorrect.
No.
The punt returner too.
Well, that's what that's what made me think about it. The punt returning, kick returning.
Okay. If Ryan Day puts DeMario McCall back,
hold on. We should put an explicit.
He should not be in the top 20.
We should put an explicit lyric warning on this because Austin's going to start talking about DeMario. That's when it's time
to get him fired up. Beep
beep beep. I should probably just stop. Nicole, National Wing Day is coming.
July 29th.
What are we doing? We throwing a big party or something?
79-cent boneless.
Oh snap!
Yes.
What day of the week is the 29th? Is it a Monday?
It's a Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, Thirsty Thursday.
Yes, got to come for a second time that week.
I know.
Yes.
All right, it's coming.
And we got Mott sticks are the appetizer of the week.
You got a song for
Do it.
It's Appetizer Tuesday. I'll have to talk to Schlegs about getting the nice ooey gooey cheese that's deep fried and just dipped in the marinara.
Your
not in the ranch.
descriptions are just phenomenal.
Gooey.
Oh yeah.
We should pay you to endorse for us.
This is so fantastic. Hey, listen, I could just eat all the Roosters. I love it. We eat it all week long. We get some here. The kids love it. They enjoy it. I mean, but Appetizer Tuesday, featured appetizer.
That's
Mott sticks, $2 all day long in store at Roosters on Tuesday.
It is. It is a steal.
There's six in there. That's fantastic.
Well, sometimes you get 7.
Dine in only. Dine in only.
Dine in only.
come get him. That's Appetizer Tuesday. Nicole's going to go get ready to hit the links. We're
Start training for Chicken Wing Day.
Yes.
It's coming. I'll be ready. We'll be right back on Letterman Live. It's brought to you by Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint.
Roosters is one of the unique companies that we deal with. They're involved in everything we do, from our personal foundation to also the Cancer Research Fund. And that's from the Buckeye Cruise from Cancer to all the events leading up to the Buckeye Cruise.
They donate back to different organizations that are near and dear to their heart. And we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long, long time.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
All right, welcome back into the Letterman Lounge. This is Letterman Live. It's brought to you by Roosters. Bob, as you look at this, we touched on a lot about the players out there, and you look at Kerry Coombs, year one back. Matt Barnes making a bigger impact now. He's going to be working more with the safeties to let Kerry Coombs take that big picture role. What did you make of that year one, or did you have to just throw it away for Kerry Coombs because of all the context?
If I hear anybody else besmirch Kerry Coombs' good name, like all that happened as soon as
he took over.
What's his name? Who went to Boston College?
Jeff
When Hafley left, what are we going to do? They're like, can we get Kerry Coombs back? That'll solve all our problems. Then he comes here.
Yeah, we got him.
You had 2 first-round corners leave, a 5th-round safety who had 5 picks, I think, his rookie year in the NFL, was a great player. Yeah. And then no off-season, guys starting, stopping, going home, coming back.
Guys leaving, coming
by the way,
back.
you lost Chase Young, who was the best part of your secondary because you had less than 3 seconds,
Exactly.
less than 3 seconds to throw the football. And then they're like, wait, why are they so bad? They can't coach. Like, you got guys out there who don't know what's going on because they didn't get a chance to have any spring, limited summer. They've never really played. Oh, Cam Brown, blow your Achilles. You get out of here. You know what's going on. Get out of here. Oh, Marcus Williamson, you're one of our most experienced guys.
Go play safety.
You play nickel, but we're going to need you to play middle of the field free, even though you've never really done that outside of probably practice once in a while.
You lose Amir Reep. You lose Jocelyn Wint. So 2 other guys that played a lot heading into the season.
Yeah.
And your 1A guy maybe didn't have the best year that you were hoping that he was going to have. He moved positions, moved outside, and you think, well, maybe we'll lock that down, but it didn't happen.
And so he's battling a turf toe. Sean's battling a turf toe too, and he moved outside. He didn't get the reps. There's a million things, a confluence of
100%.
And all of a sudden, people are like, this is a do or die year for Kerry Coombs. All he's done, first of all, I don't care how. Let's pretend for a second like he doesn't know what he's doing coaching football at as a schematic level.
Okay.
He recruits
I don't
the
know
best.
if I can even pretend.
No, I know, right?
Let's pretend that he doesn't know what he's doing. He's Larry Coker back there. Doesn't know what he's doing. He's recruited all of the best defensive backs of the last 7 or 8 years, and he's done a great job since he's been back, bringing in more elite dudes. So at the worst case scenario, you can just line up and be like, hey, you dudes cover those dudes, and we'll be pretty good. We'll talk to Larry Johnson about these guys, all these 5-star defensive linemen, rush them up front. Al, make sure the linebackers tackle guys when they run the ball. And we'll have the most basic defensive scheme ever, and we'll still be better than people. So, assuming that's the baseline, he's way above there. Because he's really good. He understands, what to do. And just talking, he goes, man, I got a full education in the NFL about understanding things. He's coached in high school, he's coached in college, did a good job in the NFL, but just understanding how guys make these level jumps, the expectations you have. They brought in Matt Barnes. Matt's doing a great job back there coaching the safeties, and Kerry's still really hands-on with the corners and everything that happens. I would anticipate that this year, for a number of reasons, is going to be significantly better. Are they going to be historically the best defense in Ohio State history? I don't know if we're going to get all the way there because I still think they're pretty young and inexperienced in some positions. But I believe that they've got the skeleton, if you will, to be a top 10 defense in the country.
And to go on top of that, they have a spring practice where, they have a somewhat normal offseason as compared to, hey, new coach coming in. Everybody knew about him, but these players didn't really know because we've had everybody leave.
Yeah.
And, he didn't get to coach his guys the way he probably wanted to going into that season. Then you throw some injuries on top of it, and, you're trying to piece together a secondary. That's not easy to do in the Big Ten. So, having this full year, getting back in, and I'm sure he always has a fire lit under himself, but
give me some juice.
But I'm sure he wants to come out and show, screw you guys.
Yeah.
You want to talk like I don't know what I'm doing back here. He wants a little bit of that, So he wants to have a good year with
the
that
Titans had like
secondary.
the best cornerbacks in the NFL in the 2 years he was there, right? I mean, they were pretty darn close to the top of the NFL's pass ranking.
Yeah, it's not like he had to leave the NFL. He made that decision.
He also had 2 years of recruiting at Ohio State that happened after he left that he's now having to play with parts that are not his. And then you see, Kerry Coombs is
playing with parts that aren't yours. Not always recommended.
Bad
By
decision.
the way,
bad decision.
Monday
it can go wrong real quick.
It can go wrong.
Monday was Bill Cosby's birthday, so I don't know if that's related or not.
No.
And also National Jell-O Day.
Are those two things really on the same day? It's like sometimes
It almost has to be, right? If they made a Jello Day. It's got to be on Bill Cosby's
sometimes
birthday.
the fates just line up.
I don't think it was a coincidence.
No.
God,
I'm sure they named it after him years ago.
The point is
not right when he got out of jail.
Existed before
the point
Bill
is
Cosby's first birthday.
there was a lot of moving parts, and they were not his parts. Now he has his parts, and
He just went right back to it again, even after he had
these coaches, especially coaches like Kerry Coombs, want guys that are in the mold he wants guys. And so now you go out, you get
They want to play with their own pieces.
You want to play with your own parts.
Yeah, okay.
And when you have defensive backs now coming in, especially at corner, I think this is where things get really different for Ohio State, is if Jordan Hancock and J.K. Johnson can step up as true freshmen who were not
Herbie?
No, J.K.
No, it's
and Jacalen Johnson and Jordan Hancock.
I think you said Herbie Hancock.
Negative.
It's Herbie.
Once you have these guys come in, and they didn't enroll early, which I think hurts Ohio State a little bit because those might be the two most talented corners just top to bottom, or what you're looking at down the road. So if those guys can make an impact, then you step up here and you get some fresh blood, and I think that's really something that they need.
I think that
I'm so distracted right now.
Yeah, well,
Bob really
you let Bob rattle. You
really
there.
went off the rails there, way earlier than I anticipated.
Yeah, it was much sooner in the show than it normally happens. I guess I'm kind of a broken record on this with trying to explain why it was so challenging for Ohio State in the secondary last year. I'm not apologizing or even making excuses. What the numbers speak for themselves. They weren't acceptable for Ohio State, but you also have to put it into context for the future of the program. That to write him off after that 1 year, or to write any of these, Seven Banks or Josh Proctor, or whoever else, is foolish to think that Ohio State can't bounce back this year.
There's a large difference between excuses and explanation.
Sure, but I think we've certainly heard.
I think if anything, last year is going to be good because those guys are hearing all this crap all off season. They have a year of experience. The guys who actually got to play and who weren't injured last year, and they want to come out and prove something this year too.
Did you see Nick Castellanos after the Reds-Brewers game on Sunday?
That would be you making the assumption that I've watched
Reds?
baseball.
I was watching
I saw it on the
Reds
Twitter.
on a Saturday in July.
So they were doing a post-game interview with
Aren't you a
Castellanos.
Detroit Tigers fan?
I'm not. They were doing a post-game interview with Castellanos, and it was live. And he said, before the game, some clown was talking a bunch of, didn't bleep it out about our bullpen. And he's like, so eat that or something like that. It was just like, and I think you sometimes have to have that attitude. You got to listen to this stuff. Kerry Coombs is a consummate professional. He's not going to come out and point fingers at people and say, "Oh, how dare you guys, question me," or anything like that. But at some point, there has to be at least an expectation of, okay, what he's done has been proven out over the years, and you let things normalize and then see how.
Well, we got so used to losing a first rounder and coming back next year and having another first rounder. That's not going to happen every single year, So this is one. Last year was one that we found that out.
I just go back to the fact that everyone remembers the Devonta Smith touchdown. On Tough Borland, he's lined up at 3, he's inside. It's a bad mismatch.
They did a good job moving.
It's something. It's a issue in that coverage, and you can try to flip and move some stuff. And Tough obviously is the most fleet of foot. You have the Heisman Trophy winner in there, and all of a sudden I go back why wasn't the free safety helping him on that play? And I'm like, oh, because Marcus Williamson is in the middle of the field. Why is he back there? That's not where he plays. And I talked to Kerry. He's like, we didn't have anybody else. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, we didn't have anybody else. He's like, there were no other guys. He's like, we couldn't even get to our full dime package because we didn't have a full complement of players. Not just guys we felt confident in, there were other guys in protocol, quarantine, bottled up in cages, like couldn't get out. I mean, and so this is what you had. So you make do.
We
with
were
it.
not far from Guantanamo.
That play became sort of the flashpoint for the whole year, where everyone.
Why is Kerry putting in like?
I can't believe he did that.
Yeah, that was the design for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like they wanted.
Yeah,
to
Tuff's going to cover him all night long. It's going to be perfect.
Secret weapon.
just put him in the slot against the Heisman winner.
Yeah.
But the reason that they wound up playing so many 4 linebacker packages, they thought they could maybe take away the run, which they really did against Najee Harris. Made him feel it throughout that game, which he acknowledged afterwards. But they had to make their choice. They didn't have enough guys to stop everything. Also, Alabama was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
One of the more talented teams, obviously, you could say. And you could argue that might be Nick Saban's best team that he's had.
8 of the 8
again, some of those
top
guys to
38
come
players
back
in the draft were from that team. So, I mean, that's
pretty good.
That's not
Pretty
too
good.
shabby.
That does seem good. The other part that tells you that Ryan Day is putting that into context, Berm, is that when he had the chance to make a hire in the offseason to supplement what Kerry Coombs was doing, he just gave Matt Barnes a promotion and then brought Parker Fleming along, gave him that full-time role coaching special teams. So that tells you that he believes in what Kerry Coombs is doing when he gets a full year, and that he believes in what Matt Barnes is doing.
And that's why Ryan Day isn't a top 20 head coach.
Oh, okay.
No, obviously, Matt Barnes has proven himself in the last couple of years to be a guy that the players on that program love. I mean, he's an extremely high-level teacher of the game, and that's something that people are really looking at. That there's a little bit of a parallel between what Ryan Day did with Corey Dennis, which is, he could have gone out and got us another big-time quarterback coach, but Ryan Day wanted a quarterback coach that could teach Ryan Day's offense. Kerry Coombs and Ryan Day, to a lesser degree, want to have a coach back there that can teach the way that Kerry Coombs wants to teach, and that's what Matt Barnes can do. So it's sort of an extension of themselves, as opposed to going out and finding another personality that maybe can come in and bring their own ideas to the table, because we saw what happened when that occurred in 2019 with Mike Yurcich, and there was some headbutting at Ohio State on the offensive side of the ball really wasn't what Ryan Day wanted. So once you start to see that, the guys that are in the program understand it, they know how to teach it, they understand the culture, it makes much more sense. But you also have to know that guy's a dude, and Matt Barnes is a dude. Matt Barnes is a really good coach and an exceptional recruiter.
He also calls Berm JB.
Oh, they're friends.
That's happened to.
So your nickname's Berm, not JB.
Did you ever correct him?
No.
You gotta correct
He's only done it once.
He actually has like 20 nicknames, and none of them are JB.
Well, I mean, I do. I'm the 9th of the 11 children in my family. 8 of us have the initials JDB. So, like, literally 8 of us are JB.
Wow.
And you would be the last one I would call.
I would be the last one because I was like the last one,
last in line.
Yeah.
So we've got to get that straight.
My nephew Max, who's here. My nephew Max, who's here watching the show.
Max is not a JBD.
My brother Josh. Max calls, which is Max's father. He calls him JB. I don't know why. Why do you call your dad JB?
Wow, we are off the rails now. And we're yelling out.
We're going into the audience. Get him the microphone, Spencer. We want to hear his question.
I will say
why
this.
Why do you call your dad JB instead of just Dad or whatever?
Sam started.
Yeah. Sam started it.
Sam's his brother.
Yeah, they're all named after dogs.
So I will give you this. Sam and Max. I will say this.
Boy, I really let this
I do know
go.
Max.
AJ Hawk calls his dad Pistol.
Pistol, yeah.
And that's like his nickname that everyone calls him now, even his wife, like AJ's mom sometimes. And it's derived off, because his name's Dean Keith. Grandpa goes by Dino. Like, people at work call him Keith, but everyone else, like most people call him Pistol. And I was like, where did that come from? He goes, because he tried to demonstrate to us how to do the Pistol Pete video, the old basketball video. He goes, it was so bad. Like, all right, Pistol. And so that was started like ages, like we were like 4th or 5th grade, him and his brother Ryan. He's like, that is what has kind of led to this now. And
is that right?
Ever since then, he's always been Pistol Hawk.
I've always wondered that.
Jay-Z, do you have something weird that you need to throw in before
I don't.
Here? Okay.
No.
I didn't think.
I think it's enough weirdness.
Yeah, we got.
Well.
July
12th.
It's confirmed.
July 12th. Outside of it being National Eat Your Jell-O Day, Bill Cosby's birthday, it's also it'll be coming up here soon in like 2 or 3 years. I think it was 1804, maybe 1805. The anniversary of how we used to solve things when we had political issues in the United States. We take it to the duel.
More pistol talk.
The duel.
Aaron Burr, Alexander Hamilton, shooting the duel in New York City.
Bring it back.
This is where Les Miles got the idea.
I want you to think about this. It was the Aaron Burr current Vice President of the United States at that time under Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton, the former Secretary of State, and this is how we're going to solve the problem. Right out, let's take it outside.
Let's take it outside.
And there was like some sort of levels, like 7 levels of honor I was reading about, and somehow they'd exhausted all the other ones. The duel was the final one.
I believe it's the 10 Duel Commandments, and that is a song on the Hamilton soundtrack. I believe it's song number like 12 or something.
There you go. So now he's buried somewhere in New York City.
Get in the car when we're traveling on the road, which fortunately we're going to get to do for every game this year. Berm's phone connects. The first thing that automatically pops up is the Hamilton soundtrack.
Because it's alphabetical order, you see, and it's Alexander Hamilton. And that's
iffy.
Pardon me.
I think your most played is the one that pops up the first, isn't it?
Pardon me.
Are
you wearing Burr?
It's probably.
Sir?
I mean, I've never seen the show or the play or the soundtrack, so I guess I can't say anything.
Understand
just going on a ride with you guys doing an away game.
You've never seen Hamilton?
No.
You should probably watch it.
Probably.
You've never seen Star Wars either.
I haven't.
You should probably watch that too.
Indiana Jones.
You should probably watch that.
Yeah.
You've never seen Indiana Jones?
I don't think Jay-Z cares
Indiana
about movies.
Jones
Wait, I do love movies actually. I hated Star Trek growing up. My dad loved it, and so like anything.
Okay, so what's the go-to movie in the Zwick home?
Varsity Blues.
He's got to have something he can relate to.
Gladiator. And Gladiator was on the other day. Usual Suspects.
Berm is.
I don't know. Tombstone.
After I've lost complete control of
duels.
Live.
Duels, yes.
Tombstone duels. There we go.
All right. Well, we came full circle. That's a good spot to wrap it up. This has been Letterman Live. It's brought to you by Roosters. Come in for $2 mozzarella cheese sticks on Appetizer Tuesday. Thanks to Nicole Cox for having us in here. It's Jay-Z, Bobby Carpenter, and JB. I am Austin Ford. We'll see you next week for Letterman Live.